The sun blazed brightly over the old west town of Willow Creek, casting shadows on its dusty streets. A few weathered wooden buildings lined the main road, old stores, saloons, and a small hotel where travelers could rest. Horses clip-clopped along the uneven ground, and the distant sound of laughter and chatter filled the air as townsfolk went about their day. At the heart of Willow Creek stood the telegraph office, a crucial link to the outside world. It was here that messages flew through wires, carrying news from faraway places. The office was filled with the rhythmic tapping of Morse code, a sound that offered comfort to many who relied on it for information. The telegraph lass, a spirited young woman named Molly, took great pride in her work. With nimble fingers and a sharp mind, she operated the machine with skill. Each message she sent was like a thread weaving the town together, connecting neighbors and friends. In a place where cattle rustling and outlaw activity were common, communication was vital for safety. As Molly looked out of the dusty window, she could see the sprawling fields beyond town and the rugged mountains in the distance. Little did she know that trouble was lurking just around the corner, threatening to disrupt the very lifeline that kept Willow Creek safe and secure. Every morning, Molly arrived at the telegraph office with the sun barely peeking over the horizon. She loved the quiet of the early hours, when the world was still waking up. The sound of the machine tapping away greeted her like an old friend. After lighting a small oil lamp, she settled at her desk, ready to send and receive messages that would connect Willow Creek to places far beyond its dusty streets. Molly was not just a telegraph operator, she was a problem solver and a quick thinker. When messages came in, she deciphered them with precision, her fingers dancing over the keys like a skilled pianist. She enjoyed puzzling through complicated instructions or urgent news, knowing each word she sent could change someone's life. Throughout her day, townsfolk came to visit, sharing news of births, weddings, and even rumors. They would often ask for updates on their loved ones or information about distant events. Molly felt a sense of belonging as she helped each person, becoming a trusted source of communication and comfort. Despite the bustling activity in town, Molly always kept an ear out for unusual sounds or whispers of trouble. Little did she know that her keen instincts would soon be put to the test as danger crept ever closer to Willow Creek. As the sun dipped low in the sky, a gang of outlaws gathered in the shadows of the nearby hills, plotting their next move. Led by a ruthless man known only as Black Jack, they were notorious for robbing stagecoaches and causing mayhem across the region. The townspeople whispered tales of their misdeeds, their fear palpable with every mention of the gang's name. Black Jack knew that to execute their most daring heist yet, he needed to neutralize Willow Creek's biggest advantage, the telegraph system. Without it, the town would be cut off from help and vulnerable to attack. As he paced back and forth in their makeshift hideout, he outlined his plan to his eager crew. "We'll cut the wires and blow up the relay shack," he said with an unsettling grin. "With no messages getting through, we can strike when they least expect it." The outlaws chuckled at his wicked idea, excitement sparking in their eyes. They had been watching Molly at the telegraph office, admiring how she worked to keep the town informed. Little did she know that her role as a communicator would soon be turned against her. As night fell, Black Jack and his gang prepared to put their plan into action, ready to plunge Willow Creek into darkness and chaos, all while escaping detection. As the days passed, Molly noticed small but unsettling changes around the relay shack. One afternoon, while sending messages, she caught sight of unfamiliar figures lurking near the tall grass at the edge of her view. Their furtive movements stirred a feeling of unease in her stomach. Determined to shake off her discomfort, Molly returned to her work, but strange messages began to flow through the telegraph. A series of garbled transmissions came in, filled with hints of danger and urgent pleas for help. The words were unclear but suggested something ominous brewing in the nearby hills. Her heart raced as she considered what it could mean for her town. With each passing hour, her worries intensified. Molly took to peering out the window more frequently, scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble. Conversations among townsfolk began to shift, whispers filled the air about sightings of outlaws and strange laughter echoing from distant hideouts. Her instincts told her that something was amiss, and she couldn't ignore it any longer. Resolute, she knew she had to investigate further before it was too late. If trouble was indeed coming, she had to prepare herself and Willow Creek for whatever threat lay ahead. Little did she know just how close danger was drawing near. Under the cover of darkness, Black Jack and his gang crept toward the telegraph lines that ran along the outskirts of Willow Creek. The town, nestled in the quiet valley, lay unaware of the looming threat. Each outlaw moved with purpose, silent as shadows, their eyes glinting with mischief. With a sharp knife in hand, Black Jack approached the first wire. He glanced around to ensure no one was watching before slicing through it with a quick motion. The sound of snapping wire echoed softly in the stillness of the night, a sound that would soon mean silence for Willow Creek. One by one, the outlaws cut through the lines, their hearts racing with excitement at what this meant for their plan. Back at the telegraph office, Molly was startled when her machine suddenly stopped tapping. She frowned and frowned again, tapping her fingers over the keys in frustration. No messages were coming through, it felt as if time itself had paused. Concern twisted in her stomach as she realized that without communication, the town was vulnerable to danger. The silence that enveloped Willow Creek felt heavy and foreboding. With no way to send or receive warnings, Molly understood that they were now truly isolated. The sense of safety she took for granted crumbled away like dust in the wind, leaving her anxious and uncertain about what would come next. With the telegraph wires cut, Black Jack and his gang wasted no time. They moved swiftly to set up explosives beneath the relay shack, their hearts pounding with excitement at the chaos they were about to unleash. The outlaws took care to choose a spot that would ensure maximum destruction when the fuse was lit. As they worked, the night air was filled with hushed whispers and the sound of shovels scraping against the dirt. Black Jack directed his crew with a fierce determination, instructing them on how to position the explosives just right. "This will blow the whole place sky high," he grinned, envisioning the havoc it would bring to Willow Creek. Meanwhile, back at the telegraph office, Molly's instincts kicked into high gear. She had ventured outside, hoping to find answers for the unsettling stillness that surrounded her. The air felt different, heavy with tension. Suddenly, she caught a faint sound in the distance, like a muffled thud followed by hurried voices. Her heart raced as she recalled the strange figures she had seen lurking nearby. Realizing time was running out, she sprinted toward the relay shack, desperate to uncover what was happening. With each step, the urgency grew. If she didn't act quickly, the very heart of her town could be reduced to rubble in an instant. Once Molly reached the relay shack, her heart raced as she saw the explosives placed around it. She understood that time was running out, but fear transformed into determination. Despite the damaged telegraph wires, she wouldn't give up on finding a way to alert the cavalry. Molly remembered that the telegraph project had included some old, and used equipment in a storage shed behind the office. If she could salvage enough parts, maybe she could create a makeshift signal device. Racing back to the office, her mind whirred with ideas. Heart pounding, she rummaged through boxes and quickly gathered bits of wire, metal pieces, and a lantern. With clever hands, she worked quickly to piece together a plan. Her idea was simple yet effective. If she couldn't send a message through traditional means, she would use light to send signals directly into the night sky. It would take time, but in her heart, Molly felt it was her only chance. As she adjusted the lantern's position and connected everything just right, her resolve solidified. She took a deep breath and ignited the lantern's flame so it could flash distress signals towards the nearby hills where the cavalry often patrolled. If they were watching closely enough, they might see her warning and come to save Willow Creek before it was too late. With each flicker of light, hope surged within her. She was ready to fight for her town. As the lantern flickered to life, Molly's heart raced with both excitement and fear. She needed to ensure that her signal was seen by someone who could help. Quick thinking led her to search for more ways to send a message. If the wires were cut, perhaps she could utilize a nearby rancher, old Mr. Thompson, who often rode along the hills checking his cattle. Grabbing another piece of wire from her makeshift equipment, Molly fashioned a small mirror to reflect the lantern's beam even further. In a moment of inspiration, she remembered the Morse code she had learned from her father. Each flash of light could represent a dot or dash, sending out an urgent request for help. She set the mirror carefully so that each signal aligned just right. With trembling fingers, she began to tap out the message, "Help. Outlaws attack," in rhythmic bursts of light toward the hills. After several moments of signaling, she couldn't bear the wait. Fearing for her town, she made the decision to ride out herself and find Mr. Thompson. She knew that time was against her, and if anyone could relay her message effectively, it would be him. With adrenaline surging through her veins, she saddled her horse and took off into the darkness, hoping her lantern signals would reach someone before it was too late. As Molly raced through the darkened streets of Willow Creek, the weight of her mission pressed heavily on her shoulders. The sounds of her horse's hooves thundering against the hard ground echoed in her ears, mingling with the rising tension deep within her. Every second counted. She could almost feel the countdown ticking away as she envisioned Black Jack and his gang preparing to set off their explosives at any moment. With each stride, she thought of the families that lived in town, the children playing, the shopkeepers closing up for the night. They all depended on her to keep them safe. Her heart thudded louder as she neared the hills where she hoped to find Mr. Thompson. What if he wasn't there? What if no one saw her signals? Ahead, she spotted a shadow moving against the moonlight. It was him. Relief surged through her, but it was short-lived as she remembered the imminent danger. "Mr. Thompson," she shouted, urging him to ride with her back to town. As they galloped toward Willow Creek, Molly's mind raced with thoughts of how close they were to losing everything. The thought of those explosives igniting haunted her as she felt every heartbeat echo in her chest. Time was slipping away, and she needed to warn everyone before chaos erupted. She was all that stood between danger and safety for her beloved town. As Molly and Mr. Thompson raced back to Willow Creek, the tension in the air grew thick with anticipation. They reached the outskirts just in time to see Black Jack and his gang preparing to make their escape, the fuse for the explosives already lit and crackling ominously beneath the relay shack. In a whirlwind of movement, Molly shouted to the townsfolk, urging everyone to take cover. At that moment, the sound of galloping hooves echoed in the distance. The cavalry had arrived. Led by Captain Reynolds, the riders surged forward, their eyes focused on the chaos unfolding before them. With a fierce battle cry, the cavalry charged at the outlaws, who froze momentarily in shock. Black Jack snarled but quickly regained his composure, barking orders to his gang. "Don't let them stop us. We need to blow this place," he yelled, but it was too late. The cavalry surrounded the outlaws, expertly cutting off their escape routes. Molly watched in disbelief as Captain Reynolds signaled his men to move in closer, ready to apprehend the criminals. Just then, a loud explosion echoed through the night, sending dust and debris flying into the air as the relay shack collapsed. Amid the chaos, Molly's heart swelled with relief. Her message had reached the cavalry just in time. The showdown unfolded before her eyes as lawmen and outlaws clashed in a vivid battle for control over Willow Creek, and she knew that her town was safe once more. As dawn broke over Willow Creek, the townsfolk gathered to celebrate their hard-won safety. The air buzzed with excitement and relief, and laughter echoed down the streets as people shared stories of the night's dramatic events. Molly stood amongst them, her heart swelling with pride as Captain Reynolds praised her bravery in sending the warning that had saved the town. "Thanks to Molly's quick thinking, we were able to thwart the outlaws' plans," he announced, raising his hat to her. The crowd erupted into cheers, clapping and shouting her name. With modesty shining in her eyes, Molly felt a warmth spread through her as faces lit up with gratitude. She had been just a telegraph lass, but now she was a hero in the eyes of her community. Children ran up to her, eager to hear about her adventure, their wide eyes filled with admiration. The mood shifted to one of celebration as people set up a small feast in the town square. Tables were decorated with colorful cloths and filled with food meant to honor their resilience and unity. Songs were sung, and people danced as the sun shone bright overhead. As Molly laughed with friends and enjoyed the festivities, she felt a renewed sense of hope for Willow Creek. Together, They had faced danger and come out stronger, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead with courage and determination.